Hey, hello. So today we are starting a 30 days of PM challenge. This was courtesy of a blog post that I saw today in the morning from Crework is how you pronounce it, is what I'm guessing. But yeah, I think they had this initiative of 30 days of PM, and as I'm already a PM, planning to improve, get better at product management as it's always growing. I wanted to start with doing what the 30 days of PM from Crewwork has to offer. We'll go through the content they have for every day. I'll have these live streams going on and we'll see how that goes and learn about product management along the way. I'll record and probably make a few of these live streams unlisted and probably make smaller videos out of this. But yeah, this will be a daily occurrence at 10 p.m. IST, and I'll try to make this consistent. There might be some delays, a few days, but yeah, we'll try to do this every day. Talk about what the 30 days of PM has to offer on each day. Talk about it, discuss it here in this live stream, and provide additional details in the call. So yeah, let's jump into it. I think we've not received an email. Let's look at it just in case we have tested if there has been a new email for us on the first day. If not, we'll just leave and leverage the tweet that was sent out. So let's go to home. No thanks. Okay, so yeah, they do have something here. So day one, WTF is a product manager. Okay, so they're starting from the basics. That's good for anyone to follow who is a beginner and just coming across product management, how they would look at improving from here. So yeah, let's go through this. Who is a product manager? I'll make notes along the way, which I'll put, I'll put on my site. Let's do day1pm.md. Let's see if this works out. Okay. Okay. Who is a product manager? One of my mentors once told me a product manager is a representative who is not present in the meeting. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Any product has a lot of moving parts and have a lot of associated teams and people doing different work. Yes, there are designers. Yes, tech team working on the application so it scales. True. I mean, yeah, engineering essentially. There are the founders who want a very specific goal from the product, and then there's marketing who is responsible for getting more users. Yep, true. Yep. So with product management, also in my daily job, you have to interact with multiple stakeholders who are across departments, across hierarchies, and across levels. You might be working with QA in the morning, working with customers during the evening, or having calls with engineering in the afternoon and talking to leadership about your roadmap. So it's multifaceted. There is a lot of context switching involved in a typical day of a PM, and that is in a way the charm of it because you get to interact with so many folks across backgrounds, across levels, and across the organization and create some impact out of it. But yeah, that's true. Let's move on. Now, all these teams don't always communicate with each other, and thank God they don't. True, yeah, a lot of the times it's much harder uh, for I mean, departmental teams. For example, marketing talking to an engineering would be a very different affair as to a QA talking to an engineer. So there are multiple dynamics within these teams when building a product, and there are multiple stakeholders to manage, which sometimes gets confusing and also a lot more challenging as the organization or the product for that matter scales. What they do is they're all in loop with the one person, the product manager. True, you also have the product owner here, but yeah, as this is focused on PM, yes, PM are know all these and have to communicate with all these people and all these stakeholders. But yeah, I think PM is like the main person in the middle, sitting in the middle, trying to communicate across all these stakeholders, making sure all of them are aligned as to what is the actual requirement that we want to deliver, such that it builds and gives all around success. Yeah, the PM who has the context of the product from its ideation to its goals. True, because they essentially are writing what the idea is and how we would essentially deliver it. So it becomes a PM job to know everything that's going on in the product and the team. Yes, and not only in the PM. A PM is the rightful advocate of the customer. Yes, you essentially are very customer focused. You have to be customer obsessed in a role like this, because at the end of the day you are delivering a product to a customer who is using it to make their lives easier, and your job is to make their life easier. Essentially, can be through small features, some enhancements that you have to do, or can be a new feature altogether that you will need to build and also make business sense out of it when working with these customers. But yeah, you are the advocate of the customer, you are the voice of the customer within the organization as well. There is a person that nobody else was true. In a more APM connects strategy, design knowledge, and customer needs. Yeah, pretty much. That's true. PMs are focused on. Yeah, I think there are multiple definitions of PM floating around, and yeah, this is a fair attempt at it. I mean, I for myself, if I had to tell, it's it's not a single sentence, because in the simplest way most people used to tell PM, a PM is essentially the CEO of the product, which in some ways it is, but not entirely true, because if you had the leverage or the powers that a CEO has, you wouldn't be a PM, you would be the CEO. But yeah, the product manager, this is a fair way to put it across. Essentially, you also have this principle of 4 P's and 3 C's within PM. If you look at it, 4 P's and 3 C of product management, which does give you an idea of how things are when it comes to the sort of things a PM is responsible for. The 3 C's includes competitors, your customers, and yeah, and the company. Whereas the 4 P's is essentially your product, the place, the promotion, and the price is what you are eventually looking for, and the 3 C's are the internal things that you manage. So yeah, you can also check out this article. I'll put this in the chat just in case. But yeah, these these are the 4 C. There are multiple frameworks. I am assuming we'll go through a lot of those in the upcoming days of these 30 days of PM series. But yeah, the product sits in the center. So yeah, this is a triangle. The PM is responsible for the product. You have designers, developers who are engineering and designing the product. You have sales and business and GTM, making sure the product is sold, it is marketed well, it has goes through all the security and compliance things that it needs to go, and also your BDR and your sales and GTM teams making sure the motion is set for the product to be visible among the market and for users to start considering it. And you have your users and customers who are essentially what you're building the product for. Does this mean that all PMs are same? No. True. Yeah, there are multiple PMs. PMs can be technical. PMs can be data centric. They can be very tech focused. They can be very different in terms of the segment they are in. If you are in a B2B setting, the product that you're building might have different requirements or different expertise that you'll require to make sure the product is successful, right? Whereas in a B2C or a B2B setting, it changes dramatically. In a B2B setting, it's much essentially working with the customer who purchases, whereas in B2C you probably have like a free product and trying to monetize on top of that through additional features and things that you can, I mean, take gaming for example. You provide the game for free, you can buy bucks. For example, in Fortnite, you buy these coins, and similarly in other games, to unlock levels, you probably purchase these other power ups or boosts that make you proceed through levels and make the game easier. So there are multiple differences in B2B, B2C, and the job in from organization to organization can also vary, because in some organization PMs are responsible for the finance side of things, but they're also, I mean, they are responsible for design, but they're also responsible for the business side of things or the sales side of things. So yeah, a lot of things can change organization to organization, and also role to role, or the segment or the industry that you're working in. So yeah, I think that's a fair statement. PMs have very different story. Yes, yes, and yes. So yeah, all these three can change based on your job, the industry that you're working in, and the maturity of the organization as well. If you're in a startup, you might have to be also the sales engineering guy in demos, make the demos work for customers during your POCs, and also make sure that the you are also engaging with the engineering team to make sure whatever solution you have proposed is viable and scalable for the engineering team to execute. And if they have any questions, you probably have to solve for those. But on the parallel side, you're also making the demo or making the demo ready for the customer. So yeah, there are multiple angles involved to it. As an API product manager, okay, PM of team that builds APIs. uh, as a product, I've never heard of a API PM. I've heard of a technical PM. uh, I mean, in terms of the technical engineering, having background in engineering sort of sense. But yeah, fair. Uh, PM of team that builds APIs as their product. Yeah, it can be that your product is essentially a series or a collection of APIs that you provide to automate tasks, or some data that users are trying to fetch from your APIs. For example, can be like the 24-hour time APIs, right? You have time and world time calculators or things like that, where probably you are pulling times for a specific duration. Or for example, Google Fonts, right? You have the Fonts API that you can call, or the Fonts package if you have a team building for that. But yeah, a PM is not really required for it unless it's uh, also product or customer exposure is also involved. But yeah, a lot of the times a technical PM is part of the discovery and working with engineering to make the even if it's just APIs, to make them work properly, or I mean design or architect them well. I mean, it much better at technical skills. Yes, you have to be. If you are an API, working with APIs will require technical skills, understanding REST APIs, GraphQL, and all these others that you have are different. A B2C PM, or for example, Instagram. Yep, serving millions of customers. Yep. So you see, just changing any of these three levers will probably change the job or what you are responsible for in an organization as a PM. Why do we need a PM? Yep, it's essentially, I mean, I think we already covered that in some ways. Is the one person who is essentially communicating and keeping everyone in loop so that they are working on the right goal and aligned to what the goal is. Now we have three users have some pain point they want to get solved. Business who wants to achieve their goals, generate shareholder value. But yeah, it's essentially generating dollar figures out of your product, right? MRRs, ARRs, GMVs that you are tracking. Development team who wants to build something that they find meaningful. Yes, you have to keep everyone happy, which is not easy a lot of the times. But yeah, you a PM is responsible to taking up this task. Now the motivation and goals for all three groups are very different, and hence they don't get along. Users might have, so yeah, you are sort of the go-to guy in terms of when something goes wrong, at least on the product level. Not at, if there's something technically wrong, you know where to go to. But overall, as a general strategy or a general overview or feedback, the feedback will come to you, and you are the person receiving that feedback, whether good or bad. Most times being bad, and having requests and targets to meet and deadlines to achieve for delivery, for example, for a feature to be delivered to a B2B customer, because it's probably blocking their workflow or some blocker that has happened, and things like that. Users may want services without cost, but the business wants to charge. Yeah, there's a dilemma here. Development teams want to build cool stuff, but we are not sure. Just building cool stuff does not get you shareholder value. But yeah, you need to get there in some ways and keep everyone happy, and so on. So there are multiple conflicts. How would that work? This is where product jumps in. Yeah, product management as a career or as like a job role came from the FMCG market, if I'm not wrong. And there, a PM was essentially in charge of managing a category of product. For example, it could be an FMCG product related to shampoos, and you are essentially the owner of making shampoo sales for possible, or growing the sales for a particular region and managing that whole operation of how would you make this product. And if you are targeting a customer or a segment within a region, can be, for example, in the North American region, you want to increase your sales or want to build, because you see a gap in the market, you want to introduce a new product. PMs essentially would be the ones who would look at all the data, do research, come up with a hypothesis, validate that, build a product, and then share. So this is how product management was initially in the FMCG segment, and that is where it evolved from there. And now you see PMs across, I mean, technology and essentially all companies. Essentially, the product companies will have someone, if they are not called a PM, they probably have multiple roles. There are multiple people doing the PM job, but yeah, there is now almost every product org has someone looking after the product or managing things that a typical product manager would do. Maybe it's distributed among roles, among technology, among engineering, and some things within sales and design. But yeah, there is someone looking after all these things. The product is something while enabling business, blah blah blah. And the words like the of the plane, yes, and the whole, and who handles everything related to the product management. Yes, everything related to the product is a responsibility of a product manager. APM helps to guide team in discovering and developing the right product. Yes, so you essentially are in charge of prioritizing, building a roadmap of things you want to add to your product to make it better, so that your engineering team has the bandwidth or has cool stuff to build, your sales team has cool features to pitch, and your customers are happy using the new features and are expecting those new features to 10x their value or 10x their ROIs. So responsible. But yeah, this is what is a typical day, or things that a PM would be responsible for. Responsibilities, right? So they are responsible for research and planning. For example, I gave in the FMCG market, design and specification, writing the specs and how the end product would behave like. For example, if you have a shampoo, what do you want the shampoo to be like? What should be the quantity of the bottle? Should it be a sachet or should it be a bottle? Should it be a refillable? Should it not be refillable? And things like that. Those are things that you uh, discover and probably jot down in a document called a PRD, called, and also provide details on designing and specifications of, so that engineering, when they come to building, have all the details or all the constraints and things that are in scope, that are out of scope, for them to consider it when they're building these products. Implementing and designing. Implementing is engineering, testing is QA, and then release and GTM. Release it to the public audience. How do you roll out the release? If it is, for example, a new feature or something that's very drastic, you might want to release it to a specific set of audience to begin with and get validation from them, and then to your entire customer base. So there can be ways for you to phase out the rollout, or you can do like a big push release to all your customers, announcing them this new feature, and how the go to market strategy from there on. For example, there might be a competitive edge after you have introduced a new feature, and how that essentially differentiates your product from others in the market and gives you an edge, essentially, for customers to leverage or use this product, or for GTM teams to essentially just have a way or a pointer for to talk to leads that they might have come across, for example, during an online event or even a conference, or someone they have bumped into that probably might be interested in the product you've built. So yeah, these are things a PM is. There are many more nuanced things. If I keep going into each one of these, there it can be an hour-long session just talking about. But yeah, broader level, these are what the responsibilities of a PM are. So yeah, this I think is probably just covering that. The cycle continues. It's essentially a lot of the times done in a scrum or a sprint by sprint, release by release manner. And every release, once you make the release, you get feedback, you improve and iterate, and the cycle keeps going. So yeah, congratulations on starting. Yo, I think that is all. I think they've also mentioned a source. Check the source. I like to know better when the PM needs to be more tech, data, or market focus. Also need to. By the way, I think I might have a tap on the last part. It seems. Uh, Here. Well, I think I might have a typo in the last part. It seems there is a mismatch among numbers to the part those is obviously not something blah blah blah. Okay, no worries. We'll not worry about that. But yeah, I think this content is from the source productmanagerhq.com. Seems to be reasonable. I think I like how they've okay, there are additional. So as I was telling, stand-up meetings are a few things that a PM is responsible for. You have this daily stand-up meetings. You probably work with an engineering manager who leads a team who are working on a specific feature. You talk to them, join the dev daily syncs or daily stand-ups and talk to them. If there are any blockers that they're facing, try to unblock them and make sure things are going fine and you meet the timelines. Talking to customers, yes, you will be joining customer calls, asking for feedback, looking for things that are blocking a customer, providing them alternatives to a problem they are facing using existing features, or looking at alternative ways that might include some changes within the product. So yeah, you constantly talk to customers and are looking at feedback and ways for you to improve the feedback or improve the product, and look at that. Product backlog management, yes, you do prioritize a bunch. A lot of the time does go into prioritization of things that need to be delivered. So for example, you get 100 requests, you cannot fulfill all those 100 requests that have come in. You have to pick and choose the top 5 items that you want to deliver, for example, in a sprint. So you have to choose from there which is the most impactful, which is more important for me to deliver, such that there might be a churn that might happen if I don't deliver this, or there might be a contractual commit that I need to deliver this by this date. You have to prioritize that, and probably that might lose time for other features that are required for other customers. So there is always a balancing play here, and there are multiple frameworks, prioritization frameworks specifically to look at that. There is rice and there are others, but yeah, a lot of the time is backlog management and telling no to essentially customers that no, we are not doing this, we'll do this, we thank you for the feedback, we'll take it into consideration, we'll look at it when it's appropriate, but we're not, this is not something we can deliver. So there might be hard times where you have to tell no's. A lot of the times you have to tell no's to customers, but yeah, this is part of the process. You're also strategically planning. This comes when you are essentially like a senior PM, or at the director and VP and chief product level, or at essentially senior levels of PM. At the early stages, it's essentially making sure things get delivered. You talk to users, get feedback, improve, iterate, and keep the ball rolling essentially. But yeah, strategically looking at competitors, looking at what the market is responding to, how the hype cycles are performing, what is the talk in the town, how essentially leaders or thought leaders are perceiving certain events within the industry, and how things might look out in the future. So you always have to be planning and looking at competitors in your segment, and looking at how you can probably piggyback and probably one up them in not essentially features, but also have an edge over them, right, where your product is preferred over them, and make sure you stay on top. So yeah, there are a lot of strategic sort of fine tuning that you have to do. A lot of the times it can be as simple as changing the messaging or updating the messaging, or it can be moving away from a segment of users and focusing on a specific set of customers that probably give the best business sense, and also can help you scale your product 10x because of their support. So yeah, a lot of it is strategic planning. You writing specs, which is the PRDs that I mentioned, as to how uh, essentially this single page document, or this can provide users and provide your internal teams aligned, such that whenever the feature goes into development, you have all things planned out, uh, all the i's dotted, all the t's crossed, and make sure that the product is ready to be delivered. So yeah, a lot of the time goes into writing this spec, talking internally within teams of making sure uh, the idea that we're proposing, or the feature that we're proposing, makes technical sense, or is it even viable to begin with, right? So there is a lot of conversation, for example, on bigger features that you're planning that might impact the product as we scale, or there might be other issues that might come across. So a lot of the times you have to be prepared beforehand, even before going into development, a lot long before that, and making sure things are planned. Meeting with other teams, yeah, meeting with marketing, meeting with sales, meeting with QA, meeting with engineering. A lot of the time goes here. Meetings essentially in general. Data analysts, PMs do that. You also have product analysts who can do that for you. If you have like a heavily data backed product, and I mean, data is important to look at feedback and looking at analytics, but you might also need as you grow, you might need a specific person to take on that role. But yeah, a lot of PMs do that to begin with in organizations. And documentation, essentially, whenever a new release is done or a new feature is live, you might want to look at how you want to roll it out. For example, making sure you have in product guides set up and in place, you have the documentation ready. For example, when the customer wants to try it out and wants to be guided as to how to use this feature and make the best out of it, you might want to also make the documentation live and available once the product is live. Skills, empathy and communication. Communication probably one of the highest and the most important skills. uh, Great and speed of learning, you are always learning. And ruthless prioritization, yeah, you have to say no to your stakeholders that are involved. And types, yeah, B2B, B2C can depend on funding. If you are a bootstrapped org, you might be tight on budget. You might only have the CEO playing the role of the product manager, or you have like one PM who is like a jack of all trades and specializes in data or technical skills or whatever is the requirement for the platform. It can be platform specific, whether it is a mobile app, or is it a CRM application, or is it like a security platform or things like that. And the size of the organization, small companies might not have a lot of PMs, or not a lot of uh, PM heavy tasks than large companies. As the scale and the number of features being added, you might want someone owning a specific set of features, while in a small platform or a small product with a small team, you might want just one person can do that. Positioning, internal, is it like an internal tool that an organization can use, or is it like an external tool? Customer liabilities are the customers. Yeah, it depends on the user persona also you're delivering to, right? So if the product you're building is focused towards developers, they want the flexibility to customize things, to pull data through APIs, have a clean UI and clean UX. Whereas the non-tech savvy, for example, a social media might not be that tech savvy and are here just for relaxing. And because of the North Star metrics or the metrics that you're trying to improve, the focus changes. And the life cycle, whether the product is new, whether it is mature PMs. A mature product is essentially you have gone from the 0 to 1 or the 1 to 100 phase, and now you are essentially in the scale mode, right, where you're trying to capture as much market as you can, making sure the business makes the most value out of the product, and selling and scaling it, and to drive the numbers up. Or whether it is a new product in a new category altogether, or you are trying to be a new entry in an existing category, and how do you differentiate and things like that. A lot of things come into play, but essentially a lot of things we've covered what a PM does. But yeah, essentially, if you were to summarize it, they are essentially responsible for the product. They make sure uh, the price is right, are involved. Not necessarily, a lot of the times business does that. Sales and BTR is responsible for the price, but there you have a say in the price on how, for example, we can charge more and add more SKUs to the product, what place and what promotion tactics you are trying to use. And essentially a PM is responsible for the product, for the company, looking at the competitors and the customers, and making sure all of them are happy. So yeah, I think that essentially covers what WTF is. PM. What do they do? He's a representative. He's essentially the voice of the customer internally, making sure things delivered. And in in a simple statement, it would be a PM is responsible for the product, making sure the product that all these teams are delivering or all these teams are working towards is the best product that the customer uses and makes their life easier and generates value. Yeah, that essentially is what product managers do. uh, we'll go through more as we get through the series of this 30 days of product management. But yeah, essentially this is day one and we've learned what a PM is. I'll make sure and prepare some notes around this and put this on this markdown file and publish it on my site at shagun.xyz. We'll find it here under the blog section once it goes live. But yeah, that's essentially it. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.